industry and shared with us about, for example, like previously we have Professor Dr. Mike Chan. Okay, he shared with us about the advancement of cell therapy, right? Everybody learned a lot, right? And also about saliva. And we know so much more about how important and how good is saliva. Another thing is, before Professor Dr. Mike Chan, we also have another eye expert, eye specialist, right? So Avita always invite different series, different experts from different industry and share with us. So when you join Avita, you feel like, hey, this is really a platform that trained leaders, that trained, that groom entrepreneurs, but not just salesperson. Okay, so we must really give Avita a big round of applause. So for always, inviting all the experts and helping all of us to grow together. And other than our physical audience here, we also have our Zoom audience. Okay, so no need to turn to left and right. Just look at the camera. They can also see you. Okay, and say hi to our friends from different countries. So tonight we also have from Taiwan. So we have our Chinese translator. We also have our friends from Japan. So we have another of our Diamond President doing translation from English to Japanese. Okay, and there is a Zoom session tonight. So if suddenly you thought that, hey, yeah, I have this friend that I should have invited, I think this talk will benefit this person, but he or she is not here tonight, feel free to send them the Zoom link now, okay? Because they can still join and they can still benefit from this talk, okay? So now is the time, okay? If you don't know the Zoom link, if you need it, you can raise your hand and your friend will immediately, okay, I see somebody looking at me like, oh, okay, Winston, please send your friend the Zoom link, okay? So why is tonight's talk important? Recently, I had a holiday. Miss Lee is staring at me. Okay, I had a holiday recently with a bunch of old friends. So we went for a holiday. Then suddenly at night, we are just chit-chatting. And one friend suddenly said, what did we have for lunch? Huh? Do you have that experience? Suddenly you're like, eh, what did we do today? What did I do yesterday? Okay, and we are just joking about it. And he just laughed it off and said, already lah. And it suddenly dawned on me that no, that is not the answer, right? So now I want you to turn to your left and right and tell the person, what do you have for lunch today? Do you remember? Do you remember what you have for lunch today? Some are like, oh, yeah, laughing, okay? Is it necessary to lose our memory because of old age? Is it necessary, to feel less energy? Is it necessary to feel, less healthy? I don't think so, right? And look at our founder and CEO, Miss Lee, sitting here. She's staring at me again, okay, because I'm going to review her age. She's 80 years old, okay, and she's still active. She's still, working. Okay, and she's still so committed and feeling that energy. And I think that is really a very good example and also a good demonstration for each and every one of us to not accept that, oh, I'm old already. Okay, so it's natural to feel no energy. I'm old already, so it's natural to lose our memory, to forget. Sometimes, remember, you're holding your phone and you're like, hey, where's my phone? Where's my phone? I'm looking for my phone. I have one time a friend who called me and said, I lost my phone. Where's my phone? I'm like, hello, you're calling me. We're not Facebook. Yeah. Okay. So it's natural, but it's not a must. Okay. And that's why Avita is so devoted in bringing in products, okay, world-class products that help each and every one of us, to maintain the prime of we cannot maintain the prime of 18 years old forever, but we can maintain the prime when we are at 40s. We can maintain the prime of our 60s, 50, and even 80s, and we can still be active. And that's what we are going to learn tonight. We are going to learn about how to reset our nervous system. Okay, is it important? Yes, if you feel it's important, turn to your left and right and tap the person and say, focus, ha. The speaker for tonight, he is none other than Professor Lim Kah Meng, and he is the brain behind NGF Plus, which is also another star product of Vita. He received his PhD from National University of Singapore in year 2002, and he was also a research scientist at the A-STAR, which is a government, support research association, okay, a A-STAR founded research institute that includes a postdoctorate attachment at the University of Minnesota, USA. But most importantly, he devoted more than 20 years of his life in the life sciences research field. So his work involved cell growth and regulation in the cancer and also infectious diseases. Of course, he's also the expert in the nerve growth function. And tonight we'll learn about the secrets of our nerve cells. Okay, so if you think that even just within like few years back, we always thought that, hey, we cannot regrow our nerve cells. If our nerve cells die, it dies. But now we know that is not the truth. Okay, we can actually regrow and regenerate our nerve cells. And our nerve cell, it has so many functions. And tonight we'll learn all the secrets about our nerve cells, and most importantly, how to reset our nerve cells, our nervous system, and how to remember always what we eat for lunch. Okay, so tonight we're very honored to have Professor Lim Kah Meng, and he's so devoted because he actually since previous few days he was down with flu. Okay, very serious bad flu. I think a lot of people know because a lot of people are infected with flu. Winston is like, yeah, right. Okay, so we actually suggested to him to postpone, but he said no. He has he has committed, so he will continue with this talk, but it will be via Zoom. Okay, but we will continue with after his talk. There will still be Q&A. Okay, so if you have any question, you can still, write your question, and even with our Zoom audience, you can write your question in the chat box, chat room, and we'll get to you later. Okay, so without further ado, let's give a big round of applause to our Professor Lim, who is so devoted and give his energy to us tonight. And let's welcome Professor Lim Kah Meng to talk to us about the secrets of our nervous system.
Hi, thank you very much.
Professor Lim, can you hear us? Can you see us? Hello.
Hello.
We can see you on Zoom, but not on the screen. The screen, we can see the slides. Thank you so much, Professor Lim, for your commitment. We are so thankful and grateful.
Thank you very much, Kasing.
Okay, we cannot hear you. I think you are muted. And we cannot still see you on the screen yet. We can see you on Zoom, but the staff is working very, very hard. Okay. And I know a lot of people have been taking NGF. And at the end of this talk, we have a a surprise for you. Okay. So stay tuned. And Professor Lim. Okay, you want to say hi to everybody, Professor? Oh, we see you on screen. Hello, Professor Lim.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Avita friends and partners, everyone. Of course, not forgetting Xiang Jie and the rest of the leaders. Yeah, it's very good to be able to see all of you again. I'm sorry that I couldn't come physically as I'm not very well, but I will still give my best in terms of delivering a good and insightful session for all of you, and I hope that it will be a good sharing session for all of you. So are you all ready? Yes.
Ready.
Okay, very good. So maybe I could start by having the first slide. Thank you. Can we have the first slide? Thank you. Yes. All right. I believe all of us, are very concerned about our health, particularly, more importantly, our nervous system. Okay, which is, I think, one of the most delicate and intricate system in our body system. All right, so I think it's very important that we understand some of the secrets, and so that we can cope with our nervous system, in terms of getting disease, or in terms of maintaining that so-called longevity in terms of nervous system wellness. So in terms of getting into all these things, you need to really reset, the nervous system. A lot of people think that, the nervous system cannot be reset because it is like, it's like all or nothing. Well, it's true that some of the brain cells, or what we call neurons or nerve cells, once it's dead, it's very difficult to regenerate. But the key word here is difficult to regenerate. It's not to say impossible to regenerate. So there's really a difference between impossible and difficult, right? So I think it's therefore, beneficial for us to understand, how we can understand or how we can discover the secrets of the nervous system reset, so that, we can constantly, have an optimum, what we call neuron cells in our body, as well as the brain cells, as well as the whole nervous system. All right. So in the next half an hour, I'll share with you, how you could do that. You could just do that. You don't need a scientist to know the secrets. Basically, a layman should be able to understand that as well. So, are we ready? Right. So now I'm going to divulge the secrets of the nervous system reset. Okay. Can I have the next slide, please? So before we really understand about, the nervous system, first of all, we must understand as a community, or even as a group of human beings, right? The whole world is made out of 7 billion people, right? We all know that there's 7 billion people in this whole world. That obviously, there are obvious neurodiversity between different people. All right, so we have to acknowledge that people are born differently. All right, and if you are born differently, so how are we going to, make sure that we still live a normal, typical lifestyle, even if some of our neural mechanism is, I would say, divergent from the normal pool. So maybe I can just take the opportunity to share with you, all right, that we can start with the one around 1 o'clock. There is this thing called neurotypicality. Can you see the word neurotypicality? Okay, so this is, I would say that most of us are belonging to this class, because we are neurotypical, because we are, in a way, in the mainstream, we are quite normal. But of course, we also know that, in the world, there's different types of people, especially children, all right, with dyslexia, all right, and of course, dyscalculia, and of course, dygraphia. These are just some, I would say, some disorders, in some learning, especially in reading, in calculation, and things like that. So I think there are people who are in this class, so we have to understand and how to, especially with parents, how to deal with this group of children. Then, of course, we have, developmental coordination disorder condition. That means, as we grow, from children to even adult. Sorry. So when we grow to an adult, definitely there will be developmental challenges. Can you hear me now? Okay, you can hear me now, because I was muted just now. Okay, so yeah, I think there will be people who have definitely developmental challenges, and of course we have even personality, split personality. We have these people. We have language disorders, or how to converse, all right, to different people at different levels. So this is language disorders, right? Then of course we also have people with bipolar, all I mean, these are people that, really have very extreme, conditions, really at different poles. And yeah, it could be quite challenging for this person to, interact socially. And of course, we have anxiety, depression, these are all common. Attention deficit, children, even for adults, you have attention deficit. And yes, stuttering, cluttering. I mean, we have people who are in that class. Obsessive compulsive disorder. Usually, these are people with challenges in, trying to control themselves, and most of the murderers, right, and even sexual offenders, they would have this obsessive compulsive disorder. Right. Sometimes we do really have to understand from their condition, and why is it that they are doing whatever they should be doing. And of course, we have autism, and there is this Tourette syndrome. I believe this Tourette syndrome, tics. I believe I mean, the person who have tics or Tourette syndrome, they tend to, have a very occasional, sound that come out from their body. So I think this is also very traumatic for a person with this kind of disorders. And of course, the last one is, very importantly, most of us, in some way, I mean, we have panic disorders. People who are very easily, so-called, scared of things. All right. So usually they are very timid, and they are not able to face out to, a normal situation, and so they get panic easily. So these are basically, defines what we have, the range of neurodiversity people. All right. So you just need to say which one do you belong to. Nothing wrong if you belong to, a class that is special. So the only thing now is, how we can, in a way, try to control the situation and resetting the neural system. Is it possible to reset? I said yes. I did say it's not possible, but of course there are challenges. But of course, let's just, from the scientific point of view, we will want to share with you how this can be done. All right. So resetting your neural system so that, all right, you can be, slightly normal. And the same for other people, right? So can I have the next slide, please? So I think you probably will know that most of us belong to the neurotypical class. So can you hear me? Is a slide? The slide has just gone off. Let me just check. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So can you see the slides? Yeah. Okay. Good. So yes. Can I go back to the earlier slide? Thank you. No, the earlier slide. Yes. So yeah, most of us are belonging to this neurotypical. Not a problem. But I think it's also important that there are certain people among our community that will be neurodivergent. Neurodivergent means it deviates from the normal behavior and even the normal functioning and mechanism. And of course, we need to understand that, in order for a doctor or even a scientist to come up with different drugs to cure, neurological diseases, you must understand that there's really a big spectrum of what we call diseases, even in one category. Like, for example, I don't know how many of you know autism. How many of you know autism? Yeah. So autism is really a spectrum, right? Where it can be a range of very mild to some that are very, very serious. So yes. So therefore, it is important for us to understand that there is a highly diverse pool of people, and because there's a neurodiverse pool of people, we need to understand different people need different solutions. Okay, there is no standard solution for any special people, but on the whole, I think Avita will always try our very best to come up with what we call solutions that can, help all kinds of neuro diversity kind of people at different levels, obviously. But yeah, definitely there will be some, I would say, improvement, or even I would say be able to solve and control the thing from getting worse. Okay, so next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, I mean, I believe all of you understand, there are different types of neurological disorders. Of course, the most serious one are the ones that with tumors, or we call it the brain cancer or nerve cancer. All right, so these are tumors that can be very, very, I would say, once we got tumors, then of course, we go into a cancer state, that this is something that is very tricky for all of us. But besides cancer, we have neurological infections, we have cerebral vascular accidents like stroke. All right, so I thought, there are different products in Avita that actually helps in cerebral vascular, for example, for stroke patient, able to, try to clear some of the rubbish or waste in the blood vessel. So these are particularly critical diseases to note, right? So cellular, for example, could be very, very useful for those people with cerebral vascular accidents. Then, of course, we have the disorders of development. And disorders here, it means to say that, there's challenges for us to grow normally, right? So maybe because it's environmental hazards, toxic chemicals may be around you, affecting your growth. And of course, you have inherited metabolic disorders. The metabolism is very, very important. Do not underestimate the I would say your metabolism. All right, metabolism is a very, very key factor in causing diseases, especially neurological diseases, and of course Down syndrome. Now, then, of course, we have the very standard degenerative disorders, right? Meaning, we are very familiar with Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease. These are very, very common, and it affects everyone here. I mean, it can affect anyone here, and it may not necessarily be only the old ones. Elderly people now, this Parkinson or even Alzheimer is getting early and early, right? So people who are in the 20s may also get Alzheimer's disease. We call it the digital dementia, which nowadays with all the handphones and things like that. The situation is getting younger for dementia. And of course, we have seizure disorders. These are very difficult to handle. I believe that those people with this kind of seizure disorders, they will face a lot of challenges trying to control their movements, and especially sudden movements. And of course, we also understand that headaches and facial pain, especially pain. Sometimes there's tension in the face, or even the headaches. These are definitely a disorder, and we really have to take note of it, because for people who have very, very regular headaches, something must be wrong happening to you. And also for facial pain, right, there is this word called, if I may just highlight to you, there is this thing called trigeminal neuralgia. In Chinese, it's called 三叉神经痛. These are very, very, very painful. All right, so people with this kind of pain will suffer quite a lot. So are there solutions for this type of neurological disorders? Yes, of course, neuroscientists are trying to very much to understand the mechanism behind, and we are trying to provide solutions to that in the clinical portion. But of course, there are also neuro doctors, neuro specialists who were trying to apply certain kind of drugs in a clinical manner. And there are definitely clinical trials ongoing for different types of so-called neurological disorders. Yeah, so I think we look forward to the good outcome of this clinical trial, because I feel that neurological disorder is one of the most least, I would say, developed in terms of medical advancement. I think there is still a lot in terms of finding that cure. But before we go into the disease model, It's very important for all of us here who are neurological typical. That means we're all normal people. It's very important that we don't fall into the trap of neurological disorder. So once we go into the trap of neurological disorder, it's very difficult for us to reverse back. Doesn't mean we cannot reverse, but it's difficult. So it's very important that while we are well, and while we're still okay, it's important that we maintain that optimum situation, right, before anything can set in, especially aging and other factors could set in. So we cannot take health, especially mental health, for granted. Thank you. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, so I think neurological disorders, some of them are really functional. Functional here, it means to say that there's actually a loss of function due to neurological disorder. For example, all right, the function of having to think properly, right? So normal people are able to think properly, but for people with functional neurological disorder, especially in the thoughts, they're not able to cope with unexpected situations, surprise situations. So they easily confuse, and of course, they couldn't cope with any resources. So this could be a very, very big problem, especially you cannot even think properly. So this is very, very scary, right? That for a person who cannot think properly, thoughts. I think it's important for us to get back to that function, the function of being able to think properly. Then, of course, there are people who have emotional disorders, people who cannot just control their stress, their fear, their anger, anxiety. These are people that totally lost control of their own mental situation, emotionally, and especially people with depression. These are a class of people that is really needing a lot of help. All right, so can we bring this class of people step out of this situation emotionally? So this is something that we want to study, all right, from the scientific point of view. And is it possible? The answer is yes, there's possible. Later on, we will talk about some molecular solution on how we can help this kind of depression people. We may not be able to cure depression, but at least we should be able to control the depression from getting worse. So then, of course, you look at the third one, which is a physical, right? So physical means people who are generally, easily tired, lack of energy. There are people like this, maybe, because they are overexerting themselves and easily get sleepy, and a class of people that totally with very low motivation to even live. So this can be expressed and seen in the energy level of this person. So if the person is totally not interested at all in life, so you see that these type of people totally lost all kinds of eagerness to live life to the fullest. So these are people that really have physical disorders, especially in terms of energy levels. Yeah. So then, of course, we have the last section, which is behavior, right? So I think behavior is very different from emotions. Behavior really, it express yourself in terms of certain kind of physical actions, right? So like tremor, shiver, seizure, paralysis. So these are really very, very scary behavior to have, and also suddenly you can collapse, and there are people who belong to this class. So it's important that we understand that there is such behavioral disorders, and how are we going to help this group of people, right? By having as I said, giving them a neurological reset. It's not as simple as what we think, but at least if we understand the mechanism of how we reset the nervous system, we can help these four groups of people, all right, in a substantial way. But of course, different people with different kind of stages and also severity. But at least we try and aim to improve, all right, the situation for every individual. Next slide, please. Thank you. So yeah, so I think you must understand the mechanism of why certain group of people have thoughts disorders, emotion disorders, yeah, and also behavioral disorders, right? So basically, there must be something happening inside the body, inside the neural system. All right. So for example, all right, for Parkinson, I think it's very now common to understand that the proteins are not folded correctly, right? So there's very clear amyloid beta peptide present in the brains of Parkinson patient, even the alpha synuclein here. So these are tau protein, especially for Alzheimer and things like that. So basically, these are result of proteins that is not folded correctly inside your brain, and that's why that's where the situation is. So in order for us to try to correct that, then I think we need to understand how we can help the patient to correct those proteins, or maybe try to minimize the chance of getting more misfolded proteins and aggregated proteins. I mean, these are already found in certain drugs that is catered for Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. And of course, we know that there is this thing called excitotoxicity. And of course, excitotoxicity means there's a tremendous increased release of excitatory, what we call amino acid transmitters. So transmitters are here is basically molecules from one nerve to another nerve. And, there is an overexcitement. And when there's overexcitement, obviously, overexcitement here means overdose of these neurotransmitters, then of course it will lead to hyper what we call condition of of a neural response, because there is an excess what we call the neurotransmitters releasing from neuron to another neuron. Then of course there is this thing called neuroinflammation. This is a very common I would say a situation where the nerves get easily inflamed through cytokines, chemokines. And inflammation is never good, but inflammation is necessary for us to fight against infectious disease. But over excessive of inflammation can actually cause us more harm than good. So it's important that we need to control the neuroinflammation as much as possible to prevent disease. Then of course we have the mitochondria. Okay, so we have the mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondria is basically the energy producing parts of the cell. So if you have energy dysfunction, then I think something will happen to you, definitely for nerve cell, not just for nerve cell, for any other cell. Then of course we have the cellular, we call it disruption, transport disruption, because certain protein cannot transport from one neuron to another neuron. So obviously there's logistic disruption, transport disruption. Then yes, that will also result in disorders. And of course, the last one is oxidative stress. You already know about all the free radicals, things like that. So we would need to use all kinds of antioxidants to basically cope with this increased ROS production, which is basically oxidative stress, right? So too much oxygen is no good. Too little oxygen also no good. So it's about getting the right optimum oxygen inside your nerve cell, right? So that's important to understand the kind of balance and how to set back to the normal levels rather than in a very skewed manner. Next slide, please. I think another very key I would say issue to understand about is every one of us here has what we call the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. All right, so this is basically opposite kind of roles inside your nervous system. This is what we call the autonomic nervous system, meaning to say that they function really outside of the brain control. These are what we call involuntary processes where the brain will not have a conscious control of the functioning of these two divisions of nerves. So basically, if I may just use a layman term, all right, so when we need to get excited and we need to what we call be in a state of readiness to do some active actions, then I think your sympathetic nerve system will be called for action, right? For example, if let's say there's a mad dog trying to chase you, all right, then your response will be to run as fast as possible, right? So that action, all right, is as a result of the sympathetic division, causing you to have that what we call the fast movement in order to run as much as possible, right? So the sympathetic division is really making you to continue in a very tense and ready situation to react to any kind of stress. All right, so sympathetic division is very important because without a normal sympathetic division or sympathetic nervous system, you will not be able to respond when there is a danger situation, right? A danger situation meaning there's a change in the environment, there's a change in the situation that you are being faced, and you cannot respond at all or react at all. So sympathetic division allow us to respond, right? Now, then of course, you cannot remain in a very excitable status in a prolonged situation because that will put you to a lot of stress, a lot of strain. So there must be a system where you can relax your nervous system, and relaxing your nervous system is actually what the parasympathetic division here function. And basically, it actually relaxes the body back to a relaxed mode, so that you can rest and also recuperate from a very tense situation. So really, for nervous system, autonomic nervous system is really a delicate balance between the sympathetic division and the parasympathetic division, and that balance must be maintained in the right fashion, because once one is stronger than the other, then yes, this could cause problems in our body, right? Especially in the nerve system, we will be able to either becoming too tense or we will be becoming too relaxed, and both extremes are not good. Thank you. Next slide, please. So yeah, so just now I was telling you that if there is any autonomic dysfunction, meaning if it doesn't function normally, as I mentioned, the delicate balance cannot be maintained, then you will see that you will have all these conditions come out to you, all right? Especially when you drink alcohol, and this can cause neuropathy. That means people who will be very sensitive to alcohol, the moment they drink alcohol, all right, their nerves will start to die. All right, so there are people like this who are sensitive to alcohol. Then it lead to amyloidosis, meaning the abnormal proteins forming, botulism. These are toxic bacteria happening inside your nerve, all right, toxic situation happening. Cerebral infarcts. Well, probably these are like the hardening of heart tissue. Well, we don't want the heart to have hardening, right? Otherwise, the heart cannot function anymore. Then, of course, or even the brain, especially brain, cerebral here means brain, hardening of the brain tissue, which is not good. Sometimes we call it sclerosis, but infarcts are really, when there is no more functioning, the tissue start to harden, and no more blood can flow to that area. So this is called infarcts. Diabetes mellitus, we all know, all right? Diabetes. Then, of course, Huntington's disease, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson. And of course, we have the different types of the disease. It's all there. So especially spinal cord lesions, toxic neuropathies. And the last one, which is very, very important to note, it can cause cancer. All right. So cancer, brain cancer, and what we call nerve cell cancer in the brain is very, very difficult to treat. You don't want to go into that kind of situation, right? So I think it's normal that it is very, very important that we have to have regular reset before we go into that very extreme state of forming tumors inside our neurological system, right? And this could happen when we have autonomic dysfunction, right? So how to maintain that autonomic system? So later on, I'll tell you how to reset that. Next slide, please. So I think it's important that on a daily basis, all right, we need to really step out of a very, I would say, stale kind of situation where, you really, are having a very tired nervous system or overworked nervous system. And you really need to do a reset, right? You really need to do a reset. And, it's not difficult to do a regular lifestyle solution. Of course, this is not going to be what we call permanent solution, but at least, if you do that regularly, all right, then it really can help you to constantly reset your nervous system. All right. So, for example, here, well, placing a fan in front of your face and focus on the sensation. This could really be one solution. And of course, go for a cold shower. Some people like to chew on ice. Well, is this going to really help? Well, I think the scientific, some of the scientific experiments and studies have shown that it really works scientifically. Some people likes to put on the music and dance. Some likes to hum, sing. Singing really helps you to reset. And even when you're sleeping, you use a weighted blanket, or just, if you are so tired, and your nerves, you realize that your nerves is really not functioning any better, then really go out for a walk, spend time with your pet, having a 3 deep breath, sometimes breathing deep could also try to reset your nervous system. It's a very simple procedure, all right, but sometimes it's important to really go through those actions because some people don't believe in it, but as a matter of fact, it does really help for most people. And of course, I don't know how many of you use the Qingyo, put on an essential oil, the aromatherapy, tapping, sometimes tap, 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 all right? Just to make sure that, you go through that nervous so-called regularity, because once you have a tapping sound, you're actually forcing your nerve, all right, to focus. So I think it's important that tapping also can help in nervous system resets. And of course, most importantly, when you're exercising too much, you need to have very progressive muscle relaxation. It's important to relax your muscle and not, force your exercise to be too vigorous. Sometimes you need to really rest and make sure that your muscle can recover. Next slide. Thank you. So I think this is something that probably we are going to the molecular situation where there are certain what we call chemicals or biochemicals inside your human body that has very tremendous effect on here it says the mood. All right. So a lot of people say, oh, I have very bad mood. All right. So bad mood here means your serotonin here. Okay. Serotonin here is probably not in a normal levels. So so I think this serotonin actually when it goes into the body, into the brain, it tells you, hey, I feel good, right? So that has the function. And it does actually controls impulsive behavior because a lot of people sometimes they cannot control their anger and the very, very aggressive behavior. And serotonin here plays a very, very big part in trying to calm a person. And of course, we know that now scientists feel that when there's a deficiency, it may cause what we call increased aggression and suicidal behavior. So these are very typical of people who are murderers, as I told you just now, murderers, crime offenders, chronic crime offenders, and even people who frequently have suicidal thoughts. This is a result of serotonin not functioning well, right? Of course, the other one, which is important, is to understand that there's this thing called dopamine. All right, so dopamine, it actually regulates motivation, tells the brain, say, hey, look, I think it's good, but I want some more. I'm motivated to do more, right? So it's motivation and basically establish reward pathways so you understand what is the meaning of reward, right? So I think dopamine allows us to understand reward system. And of course, if there's deficiency of dopamine, that will cause any person to really have a lack of motivation. And sometimes where there is no motivation, it could even lead to muscle tremors and you get so tense up, and totally no motivation at all, but your body is always in a tense mood. So because there's no motivation, you get very stressed, you get very tight, and that's why you get muscle tremors. Next slide. So again here, I just want to repeat, dopamine here is a reward system, it's a reward chemical. So the more dopamine you have, you'll be more motivated, right? So sometimes some people like to eat food, so they're motivated to eat food. Sometimes they want to celebrate little wins, so you know, by just giving a cake, you can make a person very happy. So this will raise the dopamine levels, right? So serotonin is really more on the stabilizer and the balancing of your mood. So, you know, like yoga, meditating, even running, right? And go out to the sun, right? Because sometimes the sun will enable you to release serotonin, right? So I think it's important that, you know, we have that very balanced levels of serotonin at the molecular level, all right? So resetting the nervous system means you need to really balance the serotonin and the dopamine levels. And of course, there's a third one and a fourth one here, which is interesting here, all right? There is this thing called love hormone. Wow, love hormone, meaning, all right, this thing called oxytocin. The oxytocin here, you know, it's like, you know, it actually gives you the feeling of, you know, being able to love somebody, right, and being able to be loved by somebody. So I think it's important that, you know, I think the feeling of love is so important for every individual. All right. So I think so we must have that what we call high optimal levels of oxytocin so that we can continue to remain loved and also the ability to love others. Last, which is endorphin, this is a very important chemical, biochemical in the body, because a lot of people are feeling a lot of pain here, pain there. That's because I think there is this thing called endorphin, which is not at the normal levels. And of course, once you don't have enough endorphin, you really will feel a lot of pain, right? At every part of the body. So sometimes, how do you release endorphin? Right? So by just constantly laughing can allow you to release a lot of endorphin. So laugh more, ha 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 ha, laugh loudly. Exercising allow us to release endorphin. Some people like to eat dark chocolate, right? I mean, chocolate can really make you happy and relieve a kind of pain. And of course, essential oils, right? 精油, right? Essential oils can also help you to release painkillers. So that's why I think a lot of the products are in that kind of essential oils or even you know, ingredients with dark chocolate simply to help people to relieve pain. Right? Next slide, please. So I think we have you know, come to a situation where you know how are we going to have the molecular solutions to a nervous system reset? So of course, back then, I think in 2015, I think where, you know, I invented NGF together with Avita, right? Our purpose is really to, you know, provide a very important solution, especially at the molecular level, to, you know, enhance, especially our autonomic nervous system, and not just the autonomic nervous system, but also, you know, the nervous system itself, to release some of the neurological disorders and also to reset the neural system, which is important, right? So a lot of people, they say, okay, besides the lifestyle solution, do you need to have any constant consumption of food or nutrients? The answer is yes, because our body is constantly, you know, we are made of cells. Cells need molecules to activate and to regulate functions, cell functions. So in order to regulate cell functions, normally, I think you need to really understand, you know, how does molecules or important molecules affect the nervous system, right? So this is important, and I'm going to tell you how does NGF does that. Next slide. Yeah, so I think I think important that everybody knows the importance of, or at least especially the Chinese, we believe in the beneficial effects of edible bird snacks. And here we have actually gotten in NGF, one of the key ingredients is the bird nest extract. So how does this impact on the nervous system reset? So basically, you know that there are genetics factors that affect neurological disorders, like for example mutations that can help that can create problems for people, right? Normal people, right? So I think genetic is important. Well, I think immunological factors is also important because a lot of times, a disbalanced, dysfunction immunological system, if there's a very active immune system, it will actually cause autoimmune disorders. And when there's an autoimmune status, the brain cells can be, eaten by the immune cells, which is not good. And of course, if there is serious, what we call collateral damage of the nerves, how are we going to regenerate? So this regenerative benefits is extremely important because once the nerve cell is being destroyed, how are we going to regenerate? So of course, scientifically, there is some, I would say, some findings, but of course, clinically, it still need to be further researched and further developed. But at least at the scientific levels, we should be able to show some very important, I would say, beneficial effects of this proprietary bird nest extract. And this, because this is an extract, this is a food extract, we do not really need to subject it to a clinical trial where I think there will be a more serious in-depth study on how it can affect neurological diseases. But here, it is just meaning to give you a neural or nervous system reset. It's not so much of curing a disease, but at least it can help normal people to maintain neural system wellness. Right? So bird nest extract here in NGF is going to play a very big role. Next slide. So just to let you know that in bird nest there is very rich source of amino acids, and this is clearly evidenced in the data here. This is a data done by National University of Singapore. You can see that EBN. Can you see EBN there? It's representing edible bird nest, and of course you have milk, chicken egg white, chicken egg yolk. But these are all very good sources of amino acids. But even that, all right, you can see that EBN here represent the highest, I would say, the concentration of amino acid across about 100 foods, and that includes the infant formula. You can see that during the last column, right? There's an infant formula, and you look at the data and the numbers, statistical numbers. Obviously, EBN really I would say outrange those of even in the infant formula, right? So that means to say that edible bird's nest is one of the richest source of amino acids, among all foods. Next slide. Of course, besides amino acid, we also have what we call the most important thing called sugars or monosaccharides. Monosaccharides here are very important for, especially receptor function and for, maintaining the nerve and nerve, so-called nerve and nerve communication. So nerve and nerve communication. So the nerve and nerve communication depends on the sugar levels, right, that is maintained at the nervous system. So if you don't have enough of these monosaccharides, then of course, definitely something will happen to you. All right. So I think you can see that EBN here has one of the highest concentration of monosaccharides among all other foods, and that explains why EBN will play a very important role, especially in terms of giving the right balance of neuropeptides and neural growth factors, right? So I think neuropeptide, neural growth factors are all, nowadays have what we call both the sugar as well as the amino acid to form what we call the glycopeptide. So the glycopeptide has both the sugar as well as the protein and the amino acid. So because of this high concentration of sugars and peptide, that means to say that EBN, or here the extract in the product called NGF, definitely will be able to impact on your nerves. Yeah, thank you. Next slide. So I think this is just to show you at the molecular level, okay, the different unique glycans from bird's nest, all right, that are important for neural function, and how does the nerve, communicate with one another? How does the nerve factors or growth factors create themselves? Uh, Basically, there must be a very rich diversity of glycans here. Glycans here means combination of both protein and sugars. So we call glycans. So this diversity will really help us to maintain that what we call optimum neural health, because in our brain there are the requirement of thousands and thousands of glycans that need to be be present in order to maintain normal brain function. So it's important for us, if you don't have it in your body, you must obtain that from your diet. And one of the best food that you can ever have basically is NGF. So NGF is actually a very functional food. It's not really to be seen as a capsule. It's really a very high potency kind of food that you can really give yourself, right? Next slide. So again here, just to show you that, even within the nerves, all right, you can have, different types of pathways that will require the presence of different types of glycans that actually helps. It's like, trying to build a house. You try to build a house, or you try to build a building, you need to have what we call the infrastructure. All right. So here, the glycans, just imagine that, in order for you to have good infrastructure for the nerve cell, then you need to have these unique glycans to maintain the infrastructure. Otherwise, your nerve cell will not be having the right foundation, and it's going to be very shaky. And once the infrastructure is compromised, then your nerve cell will die, or become abnormal, or become dysfunction. Right. So this is important for us to maintain that optimum function of nerve cell, and that's why you need the unique glycans from the EBN in NGF product of Evita. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, so I think another very important ingredient for this NGF of the Evita product is the Bacopa extracts. So, well, I think from various scientific studies, though there are certain kind of scientific evidences to show that Bacopa extracts indeed is able to influence certain kind of genetic reset. Well, it may not be a complete reset, but at least it can help, to reduce the drastic effects of any mutation. Bacopa extract is also important for maintaining the immunological balance, so that the autoimmune function will not be switched on. And of course, talk about memory and sedative, the moods, and how you can have the anti-epileptic kind of functions. Bacopa extract really can help in those what we call disorders. And it's important that even for young children or young kids who are going to school, it's important for them to take regular Bacopa extract to enhance their memory and also their learning abilities. Next slide. So the next ingredient that is important is actually the sage extract from NGF. So basically, a lot of people have digestive problems. Digestive problems may be just relating to the stomach and the intestines, small intestines, but it can seriously lead to the brain disorders. It has been already shown that digestive problem will lead to brain disorders. Right? So this is important that the digestive problems must be settled, having the right concentration of sage in your diet. And of course, people with loss of diet, gas, situation, stomach situation, diarrhea, bloating, all these are related to digestive problem, and sage can really help that. And because you help the digestive problems, then of course you will definitely also help in Alzheimer's disease, memory loss, enhancer, depression. So just now I mentioned about depression, and also overproduction of saliva and perspiration. These are all disorders of the nerve system. but then SAGE can go to a certain extent of restoring that reset, right? So SAGE is definitely important. And it's not just the SAGE plant, but the SAGE extract. Yeah. Okay. So I'll leave it the questions to later on, but I will just continue on the presentation first. Then later on, I'll try to answer the questions. Next slide, please. Well, I think beta-glucan is not new to most people. I mean, people already know that beta-glucan is extremely important for immunological benefits. Not just from me, but I think scientists all over the world feel that. But of course, clinically, it still remains to be proven. Yeah, but of course, as I said, we are not using beta-glucan to develop into drugs yet. So if it's just for nervous system reset, I think beta-glucan will serve a certain kind of good benefits, especially to the immunological balance benefits, and that definitely have a supportive role in sharpening the molecular pathways related to immune aging, dyes, metabolism. As I said, metabolism is very important, and even inflammation. So all this will lead to immunological disorders, and beta-glucan will go a long way in restoring that balance. Next slide, please. Yes, so I think one of the biggest problem for neurological disorders are neurodegeneration and cognitive decline, especially there's the aging of the brain. So why during the aging of the brain? Because there is a change in the neurotrophic factors. Here, neurotrophic factors means the growth factors. The neural growth factors expression are not so well characterized. Especially during the human brain development from young to adult, and even during the aging process. So if you know these changes that can cause problem, then then of course we will then be able to design solutions to in terms of structural, metabolic, and even brain process over the lifespan, and we will be able to then map out your vulnerability of to neurodevelopmental or neurodegenerative diseases. So what it here means to say that I just want to let you know from the layman point of view is that the neural decline is not like a one-night situation. It's not a one-day situation. It is a prolonged duration where there are significant changes that causes the structural, metabolic, and even the brain processes over the lifespan of the entire human being. Lifespan meaning over a prolonged period. Obviously, if you can understand those structural changes, metabolic changes, and even the functional brain change, or what we call the abnormal changes, then we will be able to cope with the vulnerability. That means we'll be able to find solution to neurodevelopmental or neurodegenerative disease. In other words, we are trying to find solution to such diseases, but the only way to find solution is to understand what has gone wrong, right, at the molecular level. Next slide. So, I mean, this is just an example to show you that, the developmental pathways inside the nerve cell are very complicated. There are different types of processes, pathways. So obviously, this is a very busy diagram, but do not need to understand the complexity of this diagram, but just need to understand that, all right, there is definitely interaction of different types of growth factors, different types of proteins in order to serve the function of a normal nerve cell. So as you can see, right, nerve cell development requires different types of growth factors, different types of proteins, different types of what we call even glycans to help you to activate the genes, as you can see from the bottom, activating of genes, promoting the survival, activating of the genes, promoting apoptosis. So it's really about the balance between how to survive and how to die, right? And also in between how to differentiate and become specialized. So this itself is like a whole understanding of the biology of your nerve cell function, and it's very, very complex. But one scientist is able to pinpoint the mapping of all these where the problem is. So only when you know where the problem is, then you will be able to find solutions pertaining to that problem, right? So I think the reason why I'm showing you this is to show you that in order for us to understand disease, neurological disease at the molecular level, you need to understand the pathways and the molecules that is maintaining those pathways, and the changes that is affecting the pathways, and how we can map out solutions, in response to those changes and mutations. Next slide. Next slide. So again, here is just to show you, just to show you a snapshot on, how the scientists monitor neural growth, neural differentiation, and neural function, and especially at the molecular level, at the gene level, right? So obviously, there are different types of gene switches, different types of molecular switches that can turn on the right function for you, all right? So turn on the right function, you get the right outcome. You turn off the right function, you get a wrong outcome. You turn on the wrong function, you also get a bad outcome. So I think it's all about switching on the right genes and switching off the wrong genes. As simple as that. Next slide. So how is it that we are able to then show the result of EBN on a very clear neuroprotective properties? And as you can see that people with normal being eating NGF, the nerve cells are growing very well. People with Parkinson's, I think the cells are definitely nerve cells are not growing well. Parkinson's with NGF improvement. Normal people, I think you can see the nerve cells growing pretty normally, but not at the optimum level. So this can even be seen after 48 hours of treatment. So as long as, as short as just 48 hours, which is 2 days, you should be able to see some good function on EBN extracts on the cellular protective effect. Yeah, so this is just an experiment to show you that indeed at the cellular level, at the scientific level, not at the clinical level, at the scientific level, yes, indeed, EBN extracts does have some beneficial effect on neuroprotective function. Next slide. So I think we need to understand the difference between proliferation and differentiation. So a lot of times, our nerves, once it's differentiated, it's very difficult to move to the stem cell situation, or we call it the stem cell ability to self-renew or regenerate. So most of the nerve cell, once they become what we call differentiated or specialized, then they will just stay in the function. They will not have the ability to self-renew. So therefore, the challenge for any neural regeneration is really to get the balance of proliferation versus differentiation. So there must be a certain kind of proliferation, but also at the same time, there must be a certain levels of differentiation to maintain the optimum status of your nerve cell. So that means nerve cell must have the ability to regenerate, but at the same time, it must also have the ability to be specialized. So it's really the intricate balance that will allow the nerve cell to be able to perform its function, but at the same time, when there is an injury or when there is aging, then they also have this ability to renew, which is very important. Next slide. So, cell tissue repairs. So when the brain tissue or the neural tissue is injured, so basically there's a different process of cell proliferation, differentiation, as I was mentioning to you. You need both proliferation and differentiation to maintain the function of the tissue, what we call the repair function. So usually when you need to repair a tissue that is already spoiled, you need to have cell proliferation. You need to get new cell, and not only the new cell, but you need the new cell to specialize to serve the special function. And also at the same time, sometimes, when you grow too fast and too many cells, you need to have a certain level of cell apoptosis to balance back, because sometimes too many cells may be no good, right? Because it lead to tumor. All right. So cell apoptosis will balance that situation where you will not lead to brain tumors. So basically, tissue repair will involve the three processes: cell proliferation, differentiation, and apoptosis. So that is how we repair our own brain tissue and neurological tissue. Next slide. So how does NGF really, help in terms of the proliferation? Because most of the time, right, I think our brain is very specialized. And once the brain cells become specialized, very difficult to go to the stage of being able to proliferate or to renew. So here is a diagram just to show you that, we have successfully formulated the NGF such that, we will be able to promote proliferation when the brain needs regeneration. All right, we need to proliferate in order to regenerate the brain. So a lot of the brain cells, once they become specialized, they will not be able to regenerate, and that's the biggest problem, because the most problem for Parkinson's and Alzheimer patient is that they have a very limited pool of brain cells, and once the brain cell is dead, all right, they cannot renew themselves, and that is the biggest problem of why people cannot recover from Parkinson and dementia. So it's important for us then to really regenerate in order to have any chance to get better from Parkinson's and Alzheimer. Of course, this is going to be a big challenge to reverse back to normal states, but at least the ability to regenerate the brain will help to go a long way in helping Parkinson's patient and Alzheimer patient from the scientific angle. Of course, clinically, we still need to carry out clinical trials, but this is just a food. We don't need to do clinical trials for NGF. Next slide. So yeah, neural progenitor cells are the cells that are able to divide fast enough. So nerve cells, a lot of people say they cannot divide, they cannot multiply. Not true. All right. So under certain circumstances, given the right condition, nerve cells can multiply. All right, can give rise to more neural progenitor cells. Here is progenitor cells is also a form of stem cell, right? So it can actually stimulate stem cell production for the brain, right? So here you can see that for NGF, right? You can see that is a very, very strong promoter of proliferating neural progenitor cells, so that you have enough of this stem cell to regenerate. Next slide. So this is just to show you that, we must really snap out of the differentiation pathways. So a nerve cell go through what we call a cell cycle. So the cell cycle means, the moment cell divide, and you will go into what we call, you can see that it's a G0. Can you see a G0 stage? The G0 stage means to say that the cells stop dividing. All right, so most of the nerve cells, once they divide already, they will stop divide. So they go into a stage whereby the G0 stage. So therefore, I think it's important that at certain times when the brain tissue is destroyed or injured or aging or degenerative, then you must remove return the G0 stage back into the cell cycle. You can see the cell cycle means once you go back to the cell cycle, then the cell will be able to start to divide again, right? Otherwise, the cell will lose the ability to divide. Why? Because it's not into the cell cycle. All right, so this is just a very simple diagram to show you that nerve cell has this very, very difficult problem about regeneration. Why? Because most of the cell go into the G0 stage instead of remaining in the cell cycle. Yeah, thank you. Next slide. So this is also just to tell you that basically there's a difference between proliferation and differentiation. You need a combination of both. You need proliferation because you need to generate enough cells, all right, to maintain the critical mass of the brain. Because you have too little cells, you cannot maintain the brain tissue. But at the same time, you must also have what we call differentiation and specialization. Otherwise, it will just be having a lot of cell but no function. So here is just to show you that the NGF will be able to allow you to have proliferation, and so that there will be enough for differentiation, and therefore giving you the right amount of nerve cell, even in a degenerative model, or when you get aging, your nerve cell become degenerative. At least you do have a solution in regenerating some parts of your brain through NGF scientifically. Next slide. So probably I've come to almost the last slide. And yes, definitely the secrets to a nervous system reset is you need to constantly maintain a regular lifestyle solution, as I was mentioning to you, or every day you need to go through that nervous system reset, a lifestyle way, go for a cold shower, chew on ice. Different people have different types of solution or necessary for their own reset. So you must find your best reset solution for regular lifestyle. Then of course, in a more sustainable way, all right, where you want to maintain the molecular situation of your own brain reset. Molecular here means the pathways inside your cell, right, which is important, the mechanism of how the nerve cell can be maintained at the optimal level, yet you need the molecular solution. And that is where I think NGF will provide that, the product of NGF will provide that molecular solution for you. So I think the secrets to nervous system reset is basically you need to have a strong lifestyle, a solution, and at the same time take regular NGF product, and then you will really understand that this nervous system secrets will go a long way in helping you to maintain a very, very healthy brain as well as nervous system, right? So I think without anything else, I would want to see whether there's a next slide here.
Yes, thank you, Professor Lim. Thank you so much. Okay, and we do have some questions on Zoom as well, as if audience, you have any question, feel free to raise your hand. I'll go to the Zoom question first before anybody raise their hand. First question is from Sophia Chan, but I think it's a bit vague because the question is, would you please provide the data analysis for the successful cases and how are the people in recovery? I think it's a bit vague. So if you can provide more information, then we'll come back to you. Amy from Hong Kong asked, it's for a friend. The friend's daughter is suffering from epilepsy. So she wanted to give the daughter NGF plus. So first is from EEG. It shows that the daughter exhibits slow waves of EEG brain pattern. So will NGF help to address this? And will NGF rejuvenate brain cells and cause brain excitement at the same time?
Maybe I just answer the questions in a few parts.
Yes.
Yeah, so regarding the statistical data of successful patient, we will probably as I said, that this is not going to be a clinical studies. So, but of course, we can what we call conduct certain kind of like even a vita. I mean, there are a lot of good I would say testimonial cases, but of course these are all anecdotal. That means it's not a scientifically carry out studies, but anyway, no matter what, it's still part of the statistical studies that we require. So more importantly, you must understand that NGF is not a drug here. You must understand that NGF is not a drug, but it is basically a supplementation that can relieve some of the problems of neurological disorders. At the same time, is there any data to support that? I don't have that data with me now, but I think it's important then for different individuals to express their so-called their own experience, right, in eating the NGF. But I think because this is not going to be a drug, so we don't do a formal studies on how it affects. But given the need to do further studies, if you want to promote NGF to a drug, then yes, we will definitely, there's avenue for us to carry out all those statistical data. But as a supplement, as a wellness product, or even as a food or functional food, I feel that the scientific studies at the molecular level, at the cellular level, has already given the evidence. All right, so we can produce those evidence if you want to. We can produce the papers for you if you need to, but that's only at the scientific level, right? There is no formal studies or clinical studies on actual human diseases. So I think we must keep that in mind. Then the second question on
Epilepsy.
Yeah, on epilepsy. We all know that epilepsy is very challenging, right? And it's one of the so-called in certain ways some of the damage is irreversible, right? But as I was showing you just now, the diagram on the proliferation and the differentiation, and of course, obviously now scientists will need to understand how does epilepsy come about, and what kind of molecular situation has gone wrong in the brain, right? So I think we must address this situation at where it went wrong, right? So epilepsy, in fact, for me, we are carrying out clinical studies for the next few years, all right? So clinical studies need time to do studies, okay? When I say clinical studies, it means to say that we will want to find a drug solution or medicinal solution to really help epilepsy patient at the level where we can almost cure it, right? So I think that we are still some way to that. NGF is not built to do that. I just want to let you know. But is NGF able to help epilepsy patient? My answer to you, yes, it is able to help. And of course, it depends on the neuro. Remember just now in the earlier slide, we mentioned about the neurodiversity of different individuals. So some people will respond very positively to NGF, especially where NGF is able to provide the exact molecular solution to certain kind of epilepsy patient. Whereas certain class of epilepsy patient may not be able to be helped by maybe the molecules that is present may not be exactly helping the epilepsy. What I'm trying to tell you now is epilepsy patient, they are coming in different forms, right? So certain kind of epilepsy patient will be very, very useful for NGF, but certain kind of epilepsy patient will need some time. So that's what I'm trying to tell you, right? Because different people have different kind of neurodiversity types, right? So I think it's important that we must have that confidence that NGF, most importantly, will be able to help, right, at different levels for any diseases. So in this case, epilepsy patient, you ask me whether it can help. Yes, my answer to you, yes, is yes, it can help. But to what levels? Then of course it depends on the individual.
Okay, thank you, Professor Lim. I think I remember we also have epilepsy testimonies. So you can actually ask the friend who introduced NGF to you. I remember he's a chef, and he's able to feel the epilepsy before it actually the attack. Okay, so like what Prof Lim mentioned, because every individual everybody is different. Okay, but we are very certain that NGF can help, but it's not a disease, so it cannot cure your epilepsy, but it can help with the situations. Okay, if any question, feel free to raise your hand. And before I go to the person, Dila on the Zoom asks, is NGF suitable for people who takes Wolverine or had organ transplant? Wolverine or organ transplant? Well, NGF. Wolverine and organ transplant.
Okay. Yeah. So NGF has a lot of growth factors, right? And then therefore it has a lot of proteins. And does it really help and interfere with the warfarin function or wobbling function? As I was mentioning to you just now, these are basically very standard NGF is made out of very standard, what we call normal proteins and growth factors. They basically help in maintaining the function of all the neurological pathways. Remember just now the network of the cells. All right, so I think it's important that you need to get that healthy dosage of growth factors. That is very important. So that's what actually NGF does, right, to maintain that healthy dosage of growth factors that's available. So does it interfere with warfarin or wobbling? The answer is no, because they are totally different what we call pathways, and therefore they will not interfere with one another. And also there's also a question on just now on whether it will cause extreme palpitation or excitability, NGF, since it's a growth factor. The answer is, again, it depends, because remember just now I was telling you on the parasitamic nerve system and the sympathetic nerve system, remember? So I think every one of us have both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So again, as I said, different people, if let's say you are more skewed towards sympathetic, then of course the chance of you being very excitable will be, the chance is high. So you will tend to be very tense, very kanchiong, because of your sympathetic system is overpowering your parasympathetic. Then of course, how does NGF come in? And even will NGF even cause your sympathetic system to be even worse, and to make it more excitable? That is where I think NGF, the beauty of NGF is that it should be able to what we call calibrate itself. Calibrate means it's able to understand when it will be excessive, when it's not excessive, and it will really I would say from a scientific angle, that it should be able to balance back the sympathetic from the parasympathetic. So remember, sympathetic is a tense situation, para is a relaxed situation. So whether a person become more excitable or not is really about lowering your sympathetic and increasing your parasympathetic. So how do you do it? I think it really depends on the NGF ingredients, as I was telling you. It's really the magical formula, the synergistic formula that's within NGF that should be able to do the job. Whether it is clinically proven, as I said, it still need to be it still need to be researched further upon. Yeah, but as a food, as a nutritional food for growth factors balance, NGF will serve very well for anyone. Even for those people who are more excitable, they should be able to benefit as well.
Hello, Kah Meng，佳明，你听到吗？
哎，香姐是吗？
声音吗？呀，不好意思，谢谢你，因为我知道你蛮严重的病，你现在还好吗？
应该比较好了。
你有比较好吗？你吃了2颗Cellgen好多了是吗？
有吃Cellgen，刚才对。
还有你的喉咙给你的龙角散吃了吗？
吃了，不错，谢谢您的照顾。
所以我没有听到你咳嗽啊。
是了，可能因为越讲越起劲吧，就可能那个 endorphin， 你知道刚才不是有个 endorphin？
我跟大家说一下，sorry, actually, Kah Meng is come here for the talk, but but last night he had fever, but he's thinking this morning go to see doctor will be better, so he never informed me he's sick until this afternoon 4 o'clock. He called me, I cannot come already. 哇，怎么办啊？He said 我不能动了，我躺着。所以我说 you immediately take 2 Cellgen. And then he said I'm very itchy. I worry later I will be cough and cough and cough. So I said okay. I send this 龙角散, the Japanese special for So I sent to him. afternoon, this afternoon, almost 5 o'clock. So actually, I'm very, very worried. Even online, I don't think so. He can talk or not. So beginning, I feel he's very, very tired when we set up this computer, set up this Zoom. Melvin told me, I think the government very, very tired. He's like that. I said, never mind, never mind. Ask him to change the t-shirt and the jacket. Okay, so I think if you have any more question, we have the last question. Okay, and any question you can send email to us. Then I ask Kah Meng to answer. Okay, we let him to relax. Okay,嘉明，我们最后一个问题，好，我让你休息啦，我也怕你。是 OK，
Okay, so last question, and via Zoom, and also if physically, if you have any question, feel free to send it to your introducer, and then they will send it to the Diamond. Diamond, please collate and then send it to company. So we will get back to everybody. Okay, and last question.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a comment rather than a question. Most of your slides were in vitro studies in test tubes and histological, nothing, no clinical, not even open studies to show the value. How would you prove that you've got 5 ingredients or 4 to 5 ingredients in there? We really don't know whether all 4 or all 5 can cross the blood-brain barrier and exactly which one is working. So it's quite hard to prove, I know, and the only way is to you do a double-blind clinical study, which I know you say is definitely out of the question. But even an open clinical study, is there plans to do any open clinical studies in maybe a group of 50 patients with 50 patients without the drug? That would prove, the point. And I'm quite surprised why A-Star never developed the product if it's such a good product.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. So I think when we develop the products, we position the product as a wellness product, as a supplement product, rather than as a product to cure diseases or even to solve neurological problems. But yes, I think whether we want to develop this product further with more, I would say, in-depth and more focus, as you mentioned, with 50 subjects. I think it really depends on the company at Avita level. All right. So whether we wanted to do that, well, I think it will be interesting to carry out that studies. But again, it depends on the budget available and also the company direction, right? So I think it's important that we keep to the company's plans, right? So if, let's say, company has no plans to develop it into a drug, then I think we'll just have to stay as a wellness supplement. Then, of course, the next question is whether A-Star is interested to develop it into a more impactful product. Then again, as I said, A-Star is basically a research institute. It's academic, so they will only carry out studies until to the level where leave it to the industry player to commercialize, and also and how to commercialize. I think A-Star really will not directly be interested to influence the industry. Right. So I think it really depends on the right partners. If, let's say, there's a pharma company who is interested to take up this, as you mentioned just now, I think then, of course, A-Star will be very happy to work with that pharma company to develop this product into a pharma product. But I think as far as Avita is concerned, I'm not the boss of Avita. I leave it to the decision of Xiang Jie and her team, all right, to see whether how much level of studies she wants to invest in, and to show the results. But as far as testimonial and anecdotal evidence is concerned, I think there are already many people, if I understand it correctly, who are benefiting from NGF already. at the wellness lab. Thank you.
Okay, I think I can give you one answer. Just now, who have this question? Is it who? Oh, you have this question. Okay, at the moment, NGF, the formula is belong to Avita. Now, okay, so this formula, is it coming? NGF's formula is belong to Avita.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So if the NGF is now is a supplement, so we do it is a supplement. So if you want to change it to medicine, of course, must continue to do this clinical study. So maybe can consider, but at the moment, Avita is doing the supplement company. We are not the drug, not the medicine. 我们不是药厂，我们是做 supplement. Actually, last time the Germany professor also suggestion, Serogin can become the liver cancer's medicine if we continue to study, to do the clinical study. Because the last time we doing this Serogin for this cancer patient, for the liver cancer, we do it last time. So we have this, is it everybody know? So they asked me, you want to continue to do the research, to do the clinical study, can become medicine. 我如果要这样做伙伴们，你们要更加努力 ，OK？ 不是，我们要更加努力，有更大的资金，知道吗？你们都听到了哈，所以 this one is already need the big capital. Okay, so at the moment, 不过很谢谢你嘉明，真的 sorry and thank you very much。他在这样蛮生病的状况下，我说我不能 cancel， 所以我们来讲了。那也很抱歉哦，今天没有看到 Professor 本人，他是很帅的哦，可是今天没有那么帅哈、哦。OK 啊，不过在这里还是谢谢你们，因为你们知道 Professor 不能来，你们还是到阿维塔来了这里啊。Thank you so much for your attending tonight. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you once again. Thank you, Professor, and also Ms. Lee. And we do have, I know we still have questions from the Zoom and also physically. So no worries. You know, I think one of the benefit of Avita being a media distributors is we are always very closely connected to the research professors. So if you have any questions, okay, do WhatsApp it to your introducer. And please WhatsApp it to your diamond and it will collate it and then get the answer back to you. Okay. And now I think we're very fortunate because we do have, like Ms. Lee and also Professor mentioned, NGF, actually all Avita product. We always forgot because it's so effective and it helped in so many different conditions, but it is not a drug, it is a supplement. And we're very happy that, you know, it helped a lot of people with different conditions. And in recently we did a Zoom session, our PA Joey did a Zoom session, and two of the testimonies really touched me a lot. One is by Winston, and he's here. You know, can I invite you to share? Because really, I think your story really inspired a lot of people to start NGF, especially, you know, let the parents start NGF. And why I want to invite Winston is I feel that, you know, your story can motivate and inspire so many people. Okay, so let's give a big round of applause to Winston. And I should invite Anand first. They are like, oh, is there a sequence? Okay, Winston. Okay, Anand, okay, Winston first. Okay, so if you have given NGF to your mother, right? Yeah, can I invite you to share about your experience?
Good evening, everyone. I think 他休息了吧？不用紧。I speak English. I was introduced to Avita by my good friend Anand. He told me about Serogin and Avita in August 2021. Meant for my dad, but my dad was in a vegetative state. No point. So he passed on in January 2022. So the family changed focus to the mom because my mom was not in a good mood, having lost my dad. So by stroke of luck, I connected with Anand again because we are colleagues. We're on opposite sides. So he reminded me about Selagen and Avita, which he had used for his mom and his mother-in-law. So that week, the same week, I spoke to him on a Tuesday or Wednesday. That Saturday, I went to see Joey. Sunday, I gave the Selagen and the NGF to my mom. And we all know that these are premium products. They are not cheap. So I spent the money, I gave it to my mom. Within 2 weeks, my siblings saw the improvement. So zip, no worry about finances. My mom is very alert, or became alert. Her mood got better. And it's been more than a year. She's still well. I think it worked too well that sometimes she feels pain because of some other issues. But sometimes as old folks, they chew, they grind their teeth during the night. So that has a nerve issue. So I think the nerves have improved so much so that she can feel pain better. And also good thing I tell my siblings is, if our mother scold you for not switching off the light, is a good thing. So yeah, so my point is they work, and I'm very happy for Anand. I thank him and Joey for introducing NGF and Selagen to my mom first. Then after that, it's my brother and my sister who are also firm believers of these two products. Thank you.
Previously, before Selagen and NGF, so your mom is in a depression mode.
Depression because she not just lost my dad. I mean, they're a very long time. Plus, she's got mild dementia.
So she's starting to get very forgetful.
Not forgetful, not just forgetful. She's repeating things, you know.
So you can see dementia is stepping in. I think it's also a shock because of losing such a a long time partner for her. So just within 2 weeks, 2 months, NGF and Selagen. Just now you mentioned, right?
I think
within 2 weeks. You can see the difference, especially the brother can see the. I really think that inspire a lot of people after sharing that we must always take care of the people around us, because you mentioned that you focus on the father a lot because he was not feeling well, and then I think during the last time sharing,
stroke.
Yeah, he has stroke. So the focus is all on the father, and somehow the mother's condition actually got deteriorated, but because you are so busy with the father, so and sometimes it happened, we forgot to take care of our family because our focus is on another person. But that's why it's important to, like what Professor Lim said, other than a healthy diet, a healthy lifestyle, to add on supplements into our lifestyle, and especially give it to our parents. Okay, so thank you very much, Winston, for the sharing. And now can I invite the person, his savior, Anand, to also come on stage and share your testimony. And really it was so inspiring, during the last session. If you all haven't heard it, I think you are very lucky to hear it firsthand, because we hear it via Zoom last time. But if you want to rewatch the video, it's also on the on Facebook. Okay, Anand, can I invite you to come on stage, and your son also? Oh, okay.
Hey, hi everyone. Winston is, he's half his story is true lah. In that sense, I was persuading him because he was telling me about his mom, and then we all went on. I started giving my mom NGF when she was diagnosed with PSP. It's called progressive supranuclear palsy. Yes. Basically, she fell. She just fell. One day she fell and from a staircase. Before that, she was very healthy. She used to do yoga. She used to walk at the age of 78, moving around. And so she fell. And the doctor told me she's got this particular illness. And progressively she will just deteriorate. She won't be able to walk. She won't be able to swallow. She won't be able to speak and things like that. And this was, I think, pre-COVID. And I met Joey. Joey said, "Hey, why don't you just try this? It's worked for many people. Why don't you try this?" I tried, and as I said, it's a supplement. It's not a medication, right? I could see initially she was very glum, blue. I mean, she doesn't speak or even eye movement. She just looks straight. But after taking this, you can see a lot of interaction with the eyes. But she can't speak. It takes a lot of effort to speak. So she doesn't speak much. But you can see the eye contact. When I speak to her, she can understand, she can say, or have you eaten? You can see the eyes, glowing and things like that. So that's how it worked for her. It helped her in that sense. That's when I then introduced Winston to it, and that's how it all went on. Yeah, so that's what is happening.
Thank you so much. Just now, there's also a interesting question on the Zoom. Okay, because the person actually asked, my brain is normal, so should I take NGF? What do you think is the answer? Okay, 我的头脑还很正常，那我应该要吃 NGF 吗？ Okay. Thank you, Winston and Anand, for sharing. We also have a lot. We have from senior. We also have young children. They have, for example, like ADHD, dementia, taking NGF with improvements. Okay, because like what Professor mentioned, it's actually the nervous system. Okay, so it's actually related. Okay, so it helps. But I think in the meantime, it's also very important to remember Avita is a supplement company. So the main thing is we want to prevent all this from happening, right? Okay, so I think the answer we should all we can all answer the very nice lady together, right? Should she take NGF? Yes, okay. We all, I think, should take NGF. Why? Because first thing is, remember I mentioned in the beginning, my friend who forgot what he ate for lunch. It's so common right now, right? That because we are so stressful, and stress are one of the big killer for our brain cells, not only our brain, I think all the cells in our body. So I think NGF is a must. And also another thing is we take it for maintenance. Okay, if you have issues, the dosage, please refer to your friends, because there's different dosage for different condition. If maintenance, you can take once a day. Okay, but for a certain issue, please check with your uplines or your introducer who introduce you to NGF. Okay, and for that, company has a very good promotion today. Okay, so it's okay. Can I have the slide? So only for today until Saturday. Okay, we have a buy 4 boxes and get 1 for free. Okay, promotion. Okay, but of course, if you are a regular consumer, okay, you should definitely take the buy 10, get 3 free. Okay, that's an ongoing promotion. But for our new friends who are here today, if you're thinking, hey, should I start NGF? It is a very, very good starter pack. Okay, it only happened because tonight everybody is here, and it's also open for all our Zoom audience. So all countries, you can key in this order. Okay, Philippines, Taiwan, Malaysia, no need to ask. Japan, you can all key in. Okay, buy 4 get 1 free, but it's until Saturday only. Okay, but don't forget, if you're a regular, what promo package you should take? Okay, 10 plus 3. Okay, if you can find friends who can combine, that one is definitely a better deal. Okay, but for our new friends who haven't started, if you are thinking, you definitely should take this buy 4 get 1 free promo package. Okay, and next up, we would like to announce another good news. I know some of you already know we got our BPOM for Salagen in Indonesia. Yay! So another new and upcoming exciting market. Okay, Indonesia has how many population? 270 million population. Okay, so it's an uprising market that we are venturing in. We already have consumers there, but now we are officially entering the market. So there will be a Salagen talk other than the product introduction, it will also talk about the market potential. So if you have friends who you think that, hey, might be interested in this talk, you definitely want to invite them to this, because it will be by two of our very, very experienced speakers. One is our Pearl Ambassador, Joey Tan. He's one of the pioneer into the Indonesian market, together with his partner, Platinum Director Angga. And if you don't know about Angga, he started like many of us. He and his family benefited from Salogen. That's why they are so into sharing this product with a lot of people. Okay, if you don't know about his stories, I really recommend you to ask your friends who invited you here to get the video, because it's so touching. Okay, and it's also so transformative. I think that's one of the joy in doing the business. Okay, it's when you see the product touch another person's life and change another person's life, not only the product and also the business opportunity. Okay, so I think that's the fun, that's also the joy and the purpose and meaning of doing this Avita business, by sharing a good product or a good platform to another person. Okay, so if you feel that, hey, tonight's talk can help another person, and I forgot to invite the person, remember to get the recording from the friend who invited you here. Okay, and I think one thing is, we always say to share is to care. Okay, so with that, I end tonight's session, and I think once again we must give a big round of applause to Professor Lim and also Miss Lee and Avita for having such a wonderful platform. So the night is still young, so look at the promotion. Okay, buy 4 get 1 free. Remember, it's until Saturday only and open to all countries. Okay, thank you very much.